Now, you may have heard this before, but the government has launched a new plan to get tough on truancy. The coalition's behaviour czar says parents of children who persistently play truant in England should have their child benefit cut. Charlie Taylor proposes hiking the existing fine from £50 to £60 and doubling it again if the money is not received within 28 days. If it remains unpaid, he wants it to be recovered directly from child benefit payments. Labour first introduced fines in 2004, but by 2009, more than 25,000 fines were being issued annually. Truancy increased in the Blair and Brown years, and about half of all penalties issued continued to go unpaid. 54 million school days are still being lost every year. That amounts to 400,000 pupils missing a month off school, and with a clear link between low attendance and low achievement. The government says something must be done.
If parents can't get their children to school, should they really be able to go on claiming with impunity their child benefit? We talk a lot about rights in our country. It's time we talked more about responsibilities. The responsibilities that we've got to get our children to school, to give them a chance in life. And this government is going to take this issue seriously.
But is this the answer? Well, in a minute, John will be speaking to Jamie Brogan, a pupil who's played truant in the past. But earlier, I caught up with the author of today's recommendations, the government's behaviour czar, Charlie Taylor. Parents are already fined. There's already that capacity. So what's the difference with the new approach?
Well, the system that we currently have for parents who persistently don't send their children to school is effective up to a point. But what I found is that it's not watertight and it's protracted, and we found that up to 50 to 60% of fines actually don't get paid at all. So in terms of the real deterrent effect that fining parents can have, actually it isn't there as strongly as it could be.
But the last government kept on putting fines up and up, and yet truancy rates kept on going up and up as well. I mean, there is a sense that perhaps this approach didn't work for them.
I mean, actually, truancy rates have been going down over the last few years, and there has been improvement in attendance nationally.
There may be, you're obviously being tough on truancy, but what about the causes of truancy? For example, the kid who's being bullied or struggling to keep up at school or is having problems at home. Or how do you tackle those causes?
Well, I think schools have a big responsibility, and understand they have a big responsibility in making school interesting and engaging and fun, so that it's a place where children want to be, and dealing with issues like bullying. And I think one of the recommendations that I found is that what we find with children who end up as our classic truants, as children who are 14 or 15-year-old bunking off school, actually many of them, the patterns of poor attendance started much, much earlier on in their careers, really in the first years of their education. And so what I'm recommending is that primary schools spend more time engaging and working with and picking up these patterns of bad attendance early on, so that children feel more included in school, so they make friends, so they have that sense of achievement that a good school career has.
When you turned around your school successfully, you identified there that the root problem was poverty in all senses of the word. Is there not a danger that with this fining approach you're actually penalising the very poorest?
Well, I think when we're talking about poverty, one of the best routes out of poverty is a good education. And if children aren't in school, they can't get that good education, they can't get that academic success, and the chances of them then going on to get a good job are reduced, and the danger is we just repeat the cycle of poverty.
Why do you think that truancy levels are still so high?
I think there's such a wide range of reasons why children end up missing school. I do think one of the things is about this early engagement of pupils. If we can really get children feeling part of education early on, and I think often we're talking about children in nursery and reception who are coming into school already behind their peers, already behind with social skills, already behind with particularly speech and language skills. I mean, I was in a school in Tipton in Birmingham in the West Midlands the other day, and the head teacher was talking about children arriving in nursery who don't even know their own names. So if we can get parents and kids really engaged early on in their education and start narrowing the gap between them and their peers, then we're less likely to get disillusionment. We're less likely to get children either choosing to behave badly or choosing to vape with their feet.
Well, joining us now to talk about her own experience of truancy is 17-year-old Jamie Brogan. She began truanting from school when she was 14. She's now back in education, thanks, she says, to a programme run by the Prince's Trust. Jamie, you started truanting, what, 14, were you?
Yeah, quite early on through school.
And I mean, we talk about truanting. What was it for you? What you just didn't want to go to school, or you were too tired to go to school, or what?
I think it was, I was really tired because I would stay out quite late and then I wouldn't get home till like let's say about 12 o'clock. Therefore, I wouldn't go to school in the morning. I'd probably go in the afternoon, and I do that quite often.
But once you missed the register, you've truanted, haven't you?
Yeah.
So, I mean, that meant you were a truant.
Yeah.
And presumably you also lost whole days.
Yeah, sometimes depending on how I felt, I'd go into school or not.
You came, like many people who do truant, from a broken home. Mum and Dad were separated by the time you were 14, right?
Yeah, we moved home and that became like different to what I was used to before, which made me a bit unstable at home, and then I wouldn't really go home as much and it'd be bad for school.
So if you didn't go home much, if your mum suddenly faced a fine deducted from her child benefit, so her income went down, would that have made a difference, do you think? Would she have come after you?
Maybe, yeah, she would have been very angry, but I don't know whether it would have stopped me truanting or not, to be honest. It was like, I didn't really, I don't know, I wouldn't really think of my mum and how she would feel. It was more how I
Would she
wanted to
even have known how to find you?
Probably, yeah. I
She
wouldn't
would?
really have anywhere else to have gone.
So a very heavy fine deducted from the money that she was getting for child benefit and things
It'd have been really hard for her.
might have worked.
Probably.
But it wouldn't have worked for you because the things that were making you truant weren't changing.
No. More Princess Trust would help me though.
Ah, well now what happened there?
I went to a pupil referral unit before I come into the Princess Trust. We started doing interviews for Princess Trust as well, and then I got into it and it really helped me. Before I was getting levels like E's and stuff, and then I started to get really higher between A's to C's in my grades.
Did you immediately start going back to school once you were with the Princess Trust, or was it something which developed over a period of time?
It developed quite quickly actually, because it was actually really good going there. It was really fun. It wasn't like any other lessons. They would help you a lot, and they helped me with other lessons
So you went
too.
to school in some kind of a unit that was run by the Princess Trust, or they supported you at the school you were going to?
Yeah, they supported me at the school. I was doing other levels as well, and they was really helping with them.
And they were mentors, or they were, how did it work?
I think there was kind of a mentor as well as a teacher. Like, they would make sure I was in other lessons as well as theirs, and they also would give you a lot of help and rewards.
So in a way, the stick might be a fine for your mum, but really the carrot would be real support for you and your problems.
It did help a lot.
Well, Jamie Brogan, thank you very, very much for coming in.
Thank you.
Kathy.
Thanks, John.